What's up, everybody? Brady Figo here, coming at you with another album review. And today we have the new Highly Suspect record, As Above, So Below, was released this past Friday, July 19th. It is their fifth studio album, and it follows up 2022's The Midnight Demon Club. Highly Suspect broke on the scene with their 2015 debut album, Mr. Asylum, which showed a variety of influences from blues to straight up modern and classic hard rock to grunge. Essentially, it was alternative rock with all these kind of little twists and different influences thrown in there. And it was a great record. It was laced with just pure, raw emotion and great lyrics and an overall kind of dark, moody atmosphere, even in some of the more upbeat tracks. The blues elements and the grunge elements and the classic elements were pushed just the right amount to where it was still an alternative rock album, but it did have those clear influences, which made it sound modern and fresh rather than outdated. And their follow-up, The Boy Who Died Wolf, just over a year later, was pretty solid too. I do think it made their sound a little bit more accessible, and there wasn't as much of that darkness and that raw emotion that was present on Mr. Asylum. But that being said, my favorite song from this band, period, is on that record, the pseudo-title track, if you will, Wolf. And it was still for the most part enjoyable, and there's still songs from that album that I come back to as well. But 2019, they dropped NCID, which really just showed them losing their identity and going for a much more mainstream and generic sound, which just really turned me off. And then their album that this album is following up, Midnight Demon Club, maybe it was a little better, but it still just sounded a bit uninspired, which it's very jarring to listen to that uninspiration after their first two albums, especially their first album, were very inspired. So I had a little bit of trepidation going into this album, but judging from the singles, I was genuinely interested in it as well. Summertime Voodoo stylistically is straight off of their first two records. And rather than them devolving or just watering down their sound like they did with their following two albums, this song feels like it explores upon that and builds upon it. Just with its length and how it really goes the distance, and that spoken word section at the end was very interesting. And rather than a dark, ominous feeling like the feeling that was present on Mr. Asylum, this song is a bit more like lively, and I don't want to say uplifting, but open, and it has a great feeling to it. A feeling that isn't dark and doesn't feel like this could have been straight off of one of their first two albums. Take the more twangy sounding lead guitars in the intro and throughout the song, the synthesizers in the verses, and again that spoken word part to close the song. This song is one of multiple songs on here that feels like it's telling a story of this like wild, spontaneous drive through the desert. And then it fades very well into track 2, Suicide Machine, which opens with a super catchy metropolitan sounding riff. That metropolitan vibe is echoed in the vocals, especially in that chorus, how you got those extra layers to it. The song feels like it's somewhat of a descendant but also evolution of Look Alive, Stay Alive off of their second album. Especially in the verses, how Johnny's kind of just yelling his vocals. And I just really love the focus on the guitar in this song. Just there's a cool solo at the end. The riffing pretty much doesn't stop the whole time. The song's very guitar focused, which I thought was a very welcome addition to this album. And sort of on the same line here, track 3, The Blue-Eyed Devil, which was also one of the singles, has a really cool bass line that drives the song forward. And the guitars in this case feel like they're sort of adding to this bass line rather than the bass feeling like it's just holding everything together. And it's another great song. It brings back more of that darkness that I said I really liked about Mr. Asylum. It's very present, especially on the second half of this song. It just got this really cool, just murky vibe the entire time. And then there's the song Mexico, which I was a little worried about just because I kind of got Vietnam flashbacks to when A Day to Remember put out You're Welcome, and there was a song on that album called Viva La Mexico, and it was fucking terrible. But they're on a roll here with this album. This is another really good song. I do kind of like how when you get about 2 minutes through, the guitars do kind of feel like they have a Latin twinge to them. Johnny's vocals in this song are great. They really bounce along to the music, and his cadences are super catchy. This album really is off to a great start at this point. Like, every single song has its own identity. Nothing is blending together. Everything sounds fresh and inspired. And then track 5 is one of the best songs on here. It opens with this really moody, almost grunge style clean guitar riff. The way they just groan those guitars is great. And then Johnny in the verses sings in a much lower register than we normally hear him. So that intro and those verses just absolutely reek of despair, and it really levels up the emotion in this song. And then things go double time for a very full sounding chorus. And then the song returns to that just despair-filled clean guitar riff, but as a clean guitar solo over it. The way this song flows is outstanding. Easily one of the best tracks on here. And Melatonia is one that I'm a little hot and cold on because I really like the melodies that this song spins, just in its ambient parts and its more upbeat parts. But I feel like they could have condensed this song a little bit. It's over 7 minutes long, and even though it is a good song through and through, like composition-wise, there's nothing on here that I really don't like. It just feels a bit drawn out. Like, instrumentally, it doesn't even kick in until you're over 4 minutes into the song. Composition-wise, it's good, but I wish they just condensed it a little bit and had less of that ambient beginning, and then maybe instead of 4 minutes, make it 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes, and then kick into that more full-sounding part, and I feel like that song would have been maybe one of the best on here. It's just a bit hard to get through with how long it is. But that being said, the 6/8 bounce this song has going towards it when the instruments do kick in, and those clean guitars that kind of twinkle in the background, again, just a very unique song. Like, the song really is an emotional beacon because just when those twinkling clean guitars and then Johnny's vocals, again, which are sung in a much lower register in the second half of the song, when all that collides, that is a true emotional beacon on this album. I just wish it wasn't buried in a 7.5 minute long song. The Reset, I don't have much to say about. It's an instrumental track. It's, again, a little long. It's 5 minutes, but it does have some cool parts. It's got those kind of jazz-influenced guitar leads, a catchy rhythm section. The song just doesn't add a whole lot to the album, I guess. But I do respect them for putting this instrumental track on here to give just the musicians time to shine. I'd much rather prefer when bands do this as opposed to just shoving random, like, ambient interludes in there for no reason. And then Run For Your Death gives me Foo Fighters vibes a little bit, and again, the kind of lower register in the chorus and the whole swing of that chorus and the bounce it has. Johnny's vocals again stand out, again, both in that very hard rock influenced chorus, but also in his kind of droning style vocals when he's saying more pills. Johnny lets out some screams in this song, which sound great. And I just love how energetic this song is. It's probably the most hard rock oriented song on here. And then Champagne at Our Funeral has some slight emo influence to it, which I didn't expect. It's a very catchy song. The lyrics are a bit on the nose, but they are very inspired. And again, this song tells a story, which I like. It really brings forth that inspired feeling on this song. And I like when bands kind of just are transparent with their message in the lyrics they write. Like, the fact that you know what this song is about right away from hearing it without it being dumbed down or neutered or anything like that, it makes it a lot more relatable. But my personal favorite song on here is the next track on here, the 8th of October. This song tells a story in the most legitimate sense, as it literally is titled by the timestamp of the story. But the melodies in this song are absolutely beautiful. This isn't just the best song on this record, but easily one of the best ballads I've heard all year, and one of Highly Suspect's best songs to date. This song is just one big cozy blanket. Just that clean guitar line that drives the song is so warm and so endearing and inviting. It has some of Johnny's most vulnerable and emotional lyrics of his career, and his vocal performance is equally as outstanding. This may be his best vocal performance to date as well. And this is another long song, but just the way he tells this story and how the instruments echo it makes you unable to turn it off once you start listening to it. And just for good measure, it kicks into full instrumentals at the end, and you get a very emotional solo. Just a masterpiece of a song. And then the closing track, Then Mickey 2, not sure what that means, feels like somewhat of a successor to Wolf off of Boy Who Died Wolf. And I think the song ends the album really well. It has more of those, again, moody sounding guitars, and Johnny's vocals are really echoey. Before I run out of time though, overall this is a phenomenal record. Huge comeback here for Highly Suspect. If you're a fan of alternative rock, you will absolutely love this album. And I'm going to score it a 28 out of 30. As always, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to subscribe for more music-related content, and comment your thoughts on this album below. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace.